The makers and distributors of opioid painkillers have begun to pay out more than $50 billion to state and local governments across the nation. Last night, we reported on how North Carolina is starting to spend its share of those payments. Tonight, we travel to Ohio, a state that has one of the highest overdose death rates in the nation. But as special correspondent Kat Wise and producer Mike Fritz report, the money has led to both a legal battle and questions about who's being left out of the process. It's part of our ongoing series, America Addicted.
3 times a week, Jackie Lewis goes where no mother wants to go, to her son's grave in Jerome, Ohio.
I always believed in him, even on the worst days.
Sean Lewis was 34 years old when he passed away last fall from a fentanyl overdose in Jackie's Columbus home. Today, Jackie has come to bring new pictures, including of Sean's 7-year-old daughter, Ava, and to clean the grave of a son she says was her best friend.
He was always a prankster. He was always a risk taker. He had a very kind, loving heart, and he was very smart. He had ambitions when he was young. He wanted to be a scientist.
But Jackie says Sean's childhood wasn't easy. He struggled with pain from scoliosis, and at 14, he was diagnosed with depression.
In middle school, the doctor put him on 4 different pain medications, which at the time I didn't know were addictive. He didn't know.
A 20-year battle with opioids followed until October 19th of last year, when Sean was found unresponsive in his room.
And so I got down on my knees, and he rolled over, and I heard air come out, and it was just the last breath coming out of him.
Are you tired?
Jackie is now raising her granddaughter, Ava. She says Ava's mother also died of a likely overdose 3 years ago. Jackie's sharing her family story these days with anyone who will listen.
Unfortunately, Sean died at a very young age of 34.
That includes the members of this board, known as the One Ohio Recovery Foundation. About once a month, this panel of state and local government leaders, addiction treatment experts, and others gather in Columbus.
Director Mason. Yes. Director Meyer.
Their task? To distribute 55% of Ohio's opioid settlement funds, expected to be about $2 billion over the next 18 years. The rest will go directly to the state and local governments. The foundation plans to start getting money out the door next year.
Ohio will have the ability to preserve and deploy the resources to save lives in ways we have never seen in the past.
This money comes at a critical moment for Ohio, a state that's losing about 5,000 people a year to drug overdoses.
It's torn up families all over the state of Ohio. We have communities that have been devastated.
Ohio's governor, Mike DeWine, was one of the first in the nation to sue companies that made and distributed opioids. He pushed for the creation of the One Ohio Recovery Foundation and appointed 5 of the 29 volunteer members who represent regions across the state. He says it was designed as a private nonprofit, largely because of what happened to hundreds of billions of dollars won from tobacco settlements during the 1990s. That money has mostly been used by state legislatures on programs unrelated to the prevention of smoking.
So by setting up a nonprofit with a specific goal to deal with these problems, we're assured that that settlement money is in fact going to go towards this problem.
So the council is the board of the foundation.
And Neri Patani of KFF Health News has been tracking how states across the country are spending their opioid settlement funds.
It's such a patchwork. Every state is doing things differently, and there's very few requirements for states to publicly report how they use this money.
Ohio is one of 2 states, along with West Virginia, that created new private foundations to oversee the bulk of their settlement money. It's an approach that Patani says has raised concerns about whether the public will be able to participate in the process.
In Ohio, when the foundation started meeting and operating, it said, we're a private nonprofit. We'll choose to be public with our meetings and allow people to attend, but we don't have to. and we don't have to follow public records laws, and we don't have to follow open meetings laws, things that government boards do have to do.
So now you essentially have government officials spending government money and claiming they can do it all in secret because they are a private foundation.
For 27 years, Dennis Kushon was a journalist for USA Today. Today, he runs the nonprofit Harm Reduction Ohio, a drug policy reform group.
This is drug overdose, intentional drug poisoning, and I track it every day.
Last year, he says he was denied entry to the board's first meeting. And when his request for records about how the board was operating went unanswered, he filed a lawsuit, citing language in the board's founding document that reads, "Meetings shall be open and documents shall be public to the same extent they would be if the foundation was a public entity."
They're covered by transparency laws, and they need to follow them.
In May, Ohio's Supreme Court agreed, ruling unanimously that the foundation was required to follow public records laws and was performing a historically governmental function, the disbursement of public money.
Afternoon, everybody.
Last month, however, Governor DeWine signed budget legislation that states the foundation is not a state agency, exempting them from public records and open meeting laws going forward. But DeWine pushes back on the idea the board isn't operating transparently.
Every single meeting that One Ohio has is open to the public. It's up on the internet. Anybody can watch it. They're accountable, and everybody can find out not only how the decisions are being made, but actually how that money is spent.
But why not treat the foundation as a public entity? I mean, what would be the harm of that?
It's not a public entity. If it's a public entity, you could have, candidly, a future legislature that decided, well, we're going to take this money and spend it on something else.
People who've lost a loved one.
While his lawsuit plays out in court, Kushon says the board is largely missing two crucial perspectives.
There is nobody on that 29-member state board who's lost a loved one to overdose. That's unacceptable. 21% of opioid overdose deaths in Ohio are Black Ohioans. I think they're adding one other member, but until now, only one member of the 29-member board has been a Black Ohioan.
We don't pick our board members.
Larry Kidd is an Ohio business owner and chair of the foundation.
Regions pick their own board members. That's the majority of the board. And they're also picked by the governor and the attorney general of the legislature. So while the diversity may not reflect the population, we're cognizant of that. And we do the very best we can to make sure that at least their voice is heard.
Kidd also says several members of the board have been personally impacted by addiction.
You know, whether they've gone through recovery issues or they have family members that have, it's not necessarily an issue that people want to make public. I personally have had issues within my own family many people aren't familiar with, and that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about the cause.
But some on the front lines of Ohio's opioid crisis have felt left out of the process.
People who use drugs are not being included at all.
Trish Perry is a county coordinator for Ohio CAN, a nonprofit started by family members of individuals battling addiction. Every Saturday, they hand out food, clothing, and the overdose reversal drug Narcan in Newark, Ohio.
Fentanyl testing strips.
But Perry says her organization has so far encountered stigma and hurdles when applying for funding from opioid settlement money that's earmarked for local governments.
If you don't supply people with clean use supplies and fentanyl testing strips, they die. And if they die, they never get to be a productive citizen in the community.
It's a message Jackie Lewis hopes state leaders are hearing.
I have to live every day just trying to figure how to go on without him.
She's met twice with members of the One Ohio Recovery Foundation and is pushing for families like hers to be reimbursed for funeral expenses, and for kids like granddaughter Ava to also be compensated.
Grandparents who were thrust into the role of raising grandchildren now, we don't know how long we'll be around for their lives, but these little children are the victims in this, and they need to have a chance.
A chance for a different life amid a still raging epidemic. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Kat Wise in Columbus, Ohio.